You're listening to Dear Strategy, where we answer all of your questions on product and business strategy. And now, here's your host, Bob Caporelli.
Welcome to another episode of Dear Strategy, where we answer all of your questions about product and business strategy. Real questions from real people in real companies just like yours. Welcome back, strategy creators, and welcome to the third and last part of our three-part series on career questions. As I explained in the previous two episodes, we've had quite a backlog of questions, and I went through them all, and three of them in particular had to do with some career choices. So I thought I would answer those in a series, which I've done in episode 71, 72, and here again in 73. Now, one question that I had from someone, not necessarily for the show, but about the show, in respect to last week's episode, was, hey, you're answering questions about careers and so forth. What does that really have to do with strategy? Well, a couple things. First of all, the questions that I'm answering, I'm trying to do around strategy type careers, right? Product managers, marketing managers, things like that, because that's the context in which the questions are asked, at least. But I think even more importantly than that, let's not get caught up in the definition of strategy being only related to a business strategy, right? Strategy takes a lot of different forms. And this show, we want to really address any form that you want. When you think about a strategy, it's really just putting in a plan, putting a plan in place to achieve a certain objective or a goal. And that plan becomes the core of your strategy. And what better thing to apply that to than your career, right? I love to hear people asking questions about their career and their career strategies, because it really is the same thing. You have to kind of plan out what it is that you want to do and, what your path is to get from point A to point B. Just like any other strategy, you may not get it all right, okay? But, going into it with a plan and saying, this is what I want to be when I grow up, and then trying to actually take some steps to get you there. Those are all really, really positive things and core to this subject of strategy. So definitely something that we want to address and continue to address. So let's go ahead and get to the third and final question in this particular series on career questions. And the question is, Dear Strategy, how do I evaluate a product manager to product marketing manager career transition? So again, I have to do some level setting on the definitions, but I also want to say that this person actually goes on just a little bit to describe, what their strategy is, saying that I want to own strategy as a COO, a CTO, or some C-level strategy executive, but not necessarily as a CEO, okay? Which is really, really important kind of qualifier to this question, because they're not just saying, hey, what should I do? They're saying, what should I do with these particular career goals in mind, which I think is really, really important. So I'll try and incorporate all of that back into it. Again, though, it goes towards this idea of career strategy. Have your objective, have your goal in mind, and then you'll be able to answer better questions on your own career moves, or at least, ask better questions if you're not completely sure of the answers. So let's talk about the difference between a product manager and a product marketing manager, because this has been a pretty heavily debated topic. And frankly, these definitions do vary a bit from company to company. So I'll kind of give you my thoughts on what they are. I would say when I see these two terms used together in a company, it's usually because the product manager is generally responsible for kind of the front end innovation piece of the business, right? So defining what customers are looking for, defining what markets you want to go after, defining what the needs are of customers, and turning those into some type of development projects that then can be developed into final products. Sometimes those product management roles are also responsible for kind of the overall management of those products in the marketplace, meaning that once they are released, the idea of managing the business in the marketplace would also fall into the product manager's role. But that's by and large, if you have a product manager and a product marketing manager existing in the same company, that's usually what the role of a product manager would entail. Again, that kind of front end, and then maybe sometimes the managing of the business as well. A product marketing manager in that kind of a scenario would generally pick it up after the product has been developed. So they're responsible for determining how are you going to go to market with the product, and how are you going to market the product to the world. And sometimes those roles also will encompass the entire marketing mix, meaning what other tweaks do you want to make to the product and feeding that back to the product manager? How do you want to promote the product? Of course, how should we price the product and manage price in the marketplace? And where do we want to place the product in terms of distribution, retail, things of that nature? So that 4P of marketing mix, product, price, promotion, and place would sometimes fall into that product marketing manager's area as well. Now, when you do have these two roles working together in an organization, especially on one particular product line or product group, the key is that they have to act as one position practically, right? Because if you have the product manager responsible for the front end of the life cycle, meaning that, upfront development piece and innovation piece and so forth, and then you have the product marketing manager responsible for the, market facing piece of the job. If they're not in constant communication, boy, are you going to be in trouble, because you'll have the product manager with one agenda, the product marketing manager with another agenda. They'll be throwing stones at one another, fighting about, who's causing what to happen where, and it's just not going to work. So it has to require clear definitions between those two roles and very, very close coordination and collaboration, which is not always easy, right? When you go into any organization, you get egos and insecurities and all kinds of other effects going on, right? And it could be very, very difficult, frankly, to get positions like that to work together, especially very closely. So I'm not going to say that it works well everywhere, but of course I have seen it work. And it is something that is, I would say, fairly common, especially in technology companies where it seems to be prevalent. The other option to that, by the way, is that some companies have product managers that are responsible for the end-to-end life cycle. So they're really kind of the mini CEO, the mini business manager. You see that more in business-to-business type environments, maybe more with tangible products as well. You might see that type of a model where the product manager is the overarching manager of the product line, and they might be supported by other functions like marketing or any other number of functions to help make that life cycle happen. So the first thing you have to do is understand that, right? Because you may be using these terms in your own company and thinking that they translate directly out into the outside world. And you might find that you go to another company and your definition of product manager is completely different than theirs. And I've seen this many, many times in my own career as well. Product managers, took the role of everywhere from an applications engineer to a mini business unit leader and everything in between. And trying to reconcile those definitions between companies can be pretty difficult. So make sure you know what it is that you want to do in the outside world and what the rest of the world is calling whatever your company's calling it. And that's kind of the first thing. But assuming that you are talking about this difference between a product manager and a product marketing manager, the way that I described it up front, I would say that if you are a product manager just responsible for the front end innovation part of things, even if you do take on some more of the business manager type of roles, I would say getting the experience of the product marketing manager role is key as well, right? That's going to give you the most well-rounded experience that you can get. Because what you want to ultimately have at any point in your career is responsibility for all parts of a business or product lifecycle, right? That means the upfront insight gathering, the innovation part of it, the development part of it, right? At least coordinating the development part of it, the marketing and launching part of it, and then the business management part of it. So all of those things are basically the different life cycle stages of any business or product, and any well-rounded product person should have experience in all of those areas. So if right now you're a product manager, moving into a product marketing manager role to get the rest of that experience, I think is a really, really good thing, regardless of where you want to go ultimately in your career. Now, the fact that this particular question kind of talks about the fact that, hey, I don't know that I'm cut out for a CEO role, but I really do want to have strategy responsibility, maybe as a COO or a CTO or, some other C-level executive. I would say that any of those positions are going to require that you have full business lifecycle management experience at some point, right? Because whether you're responsible for just one part of a strategy or an entire strategy, you need to understand the big picture. And I would say, especially if you're at the part of your career where you are a product manager or product marketing manager, getting that well-rounded experience is going to help any of those C-level roles, right? Without a doubt. Now, with that said, if this person had, said in the question, hey, I really want to go more towards the engineering and operations part of the company, I might say that product marketing manager might not help you as much with that, right? Because, being a product manager and responsible for that front end of the life cycle is going to be a better career step towards that engineering and operation kind of leadership role. And the marketing stuff will always be beneficial, but might not help you as much in that particular path. If you had said, hey, I want to go pure marketing, then I might say, move towards product marketing management and see if you can really excel there and move up towards that part of the career. So I think when you're in those kinds of roles, or thinking about those kinds of roles really being a little more specialized, then I might be able to give a little bit better guidance as to which one would be better choice for you. But if you're saying I want to be an executive, C-level or not, I think, having both of those experiences will be really, really good in this particular case. With all that said, I have to also kind of give a shout out and give some kudos to the fact that this person has said, I don't think CEO is for me. And I love that because a lot of people at any part of their career, that's all they want to be, right? They want to be a general manager. They want to be a CEO. They're driven by power and money and all these other things. And they don't always take the time to really look and see what those roles entail. Those are high pressure roles, right? I was a business unit president. I was a business unit executive responsible for 1,000 people at one point in my career. And I can tell you, I happen to love that role, but it definitely had its downsides. I mean, there are definitely a lot of pressure points. There's a lot of things to consider. You're responsible for a lot of people. And those people don't always like you. And they also don't always tell you when you're doing stupid things, right? Because no one, again, wants to tell the emperor they have no clothes. So, those are tough things to deal with and not everyone's cut out for it. Frankly, again, I said I enjoyed it, but I don't know that I enjoyed it more than anything else I've ever done in my career, right? So now here I am running a small business and there's probably a reason for that. So, be clear on what it is you really want to do. Don't be just driven by title and money and power and those other things. Not everyone is cut out for a CEO or GM role. In fact, very few people are, to be honest. And so knowing realistically what you want to achieve, I think is really, really important so that you can pick the right path to get you there. And that's what this person seems to be doing. So I think that's a really, really great start. So I hope that is all helpful. Again, this is the last in the 3-part series of our career questions. I'm sure somewhere along the way we'll get some more career questions, but for now, I wanted to give you this grouping. So I hope you found this series helpful. And again, if you have any questions that you want to be asked on the show, please go ahead and go to dearstrategy.com or dearstrategy.net. They both go to the same place. You can click on the Ask a Question link and have a question submitted for the show. Also, please don't forget to visit the website of our sponsor, Strategy Generation Company. It's a company I work for and also founded. We provide workshops and training and resources and tools for people that are interested in the subject of strategy. Our goal is to provide a learning community for strategy creators, and you are a part of that community, so we hope you'll go and visit us there as well. Again, strategygeneration.com. In the meantime, while you're doing all of that, don't forget to make time for the plan, and we'll see you back here on another episode of Dear Strategy. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for listening to Dear Strategy with Bob Caparelli. To learn more or to submit a question to be featured on our show, please visit us at dearstrategy.net.